This is going to be a very fiery conversation today. I have, like magic, uh, Majeed Mogharreban coming in from Quebec. And I know that this is going to be a huge share session with our audience that we're going to um, collaborate on and give a lot of value to people. And I know you threw over a couple topics to me to be able to jam on today. And before we go into the topics of today's conversation, can you just kind of give people like the elevator like pitch of what you do and how you come to where you are today?
Sure. Thanks, Jim. Chiro Hustle Nation, what's up? So my name's Majeed, like magic. I'm the world's only public speaking coach for holistic practitioners to sell their high ticket services. I have been a professional speaker for 12 years. And about 4 years ago, my mother was diagnosed with bipolar and put on these pills. And we just thought she was going to be sort of brain dead for the rest of her life when they just said, keep going on the pills, keep going on the pills. Well, one day, one of my mother's friends saw an advertisement for a free presentation from a holistic practitioner called the Gut Brain Connection, how the food you eat affects your mental health. My mother's friend went to the presentation and they mentioned bipolar, which my mother was diagnosed with. And my mother's friend came home and called up my mom and said, you got to go see this doctor, holistic doctor. So the holistic doctor asked my mother a question she's never heard before. She asked her, what are you eating? And started this whole health journey about actually taking responsibility for your health. Long story short, healed my mother and saved our family, really, because really we thought we lost mom. She's back, baby. She's off the pills. She's super healthy. And so now I've applied all the skills that I built as a professional speaker in the performance and the presentation, and also in the skill of speaking to sell, which is to say, you put on a presentation that's designed to attract clients. And I am applying that skill now with functional medicine doctors, naturopathic doctors, chiropractors, health coaches, health consultants, so that we can get the message out there about holistic health and do it in a way that's educational and entertaining and inspiring and also grows their practice. So that's what I do.
Well, thank you so much for jumping on with me today. I think that our ecosystem merge, as we talked about earlier, is going to really benefit from what you're doing. And you're going to help people craft their signature talk, which gets them the opportunity to, number one, grow their business, but to become a greater influence in their local communities. And the byproduct of that is simply to what you just said. You get some people you can help. And I think that that's why everybody gets into the groups that we support, is they just want to be of service and they want to use their skill sets that they went to college for multiple years and got a degree in to become a doctor, and they want to help more people. And I think that what you're doing is so necessary for not only the healthcare providers, but for the end user, which is the person that walks around aimlessly without somebody that can actually give them those services. So thank you for doing what you do and helping the practitioners actually get out there and to, um, I call it harvest their communities for people that need their services. So, yeah, thanks for doing that. And let's just jump right into topic number one. Let me refresh here. Topic number one is how to tell stories that sell. And I think that that's something that you become a proficient with, and you could probably take somebody through the action steps on how to do that. So maybe we can create some magic for them on this live and let them know some strategies that they can do to create a story that will sell.
Cool. So one thing I've learned about doctors is they all love learning. You kind of have to love learning to get all that education. And one thing I know about learners is they love to teach. And chiropractors, holistic doctors, the ones that I know, they love teaching. And they teach and they teach and they teach, but they don't make sales. They fill people's minds and hearts up with knowledge, and the people say, gosh, thanks for this great information. And they'll go home and nothing changed. As a professional speaker, we get really egotistical about we got a standing ovation or we got a $10,000 keynote speech. But the truth is, if our audience hasn't done anything, if the audience doesn't take any action, then we're kind of just all wasting each other's time. So my philosophy is How do you give a presentation so that the right people who want help now are inspired enough to raise their hand and say, sign me up for whatever you're selling? And the answer I found through over 500 paid speaking engagements, through over 250 public speaking coaching clients, the answer is one word: stories. And so, why stories? And how do we tell stories that sell? The reason why stories is that when I tell a story, you imagine a picture. So, for example, I'll never forget the day my patient walked into my chiropractic clinic, laid down face down on the table, and said to me, "Doctor, if you don't fix my back, I'm afraid I'll never be able to walk again." So, what do we see in that story? We see a chiropractic table, we see an office, we see someone laying down. So, visually, it's more memorable, it's more engaging. So, tip number one: when you tell a story, set the scene. Set the scene. The other thing about that story is you can hear the word, you can hear the person speaking. So use dialogue. I said in that story, "Doctor, if you don't fix my back, um, I may never walk again." So we can hear it. In my story, in my mind, the chiropractor's table had some of that really thin wax paper on top that like keeps it kind of sanitary. I could kind of hear that crinkling because last time I was on a chiro's table, I think I had one of those situations. So I could hear it, I could feel it, I can see it, I could probably even smell it. And so it's sensational. So, tip number one, let us see the story. Tip number two, let us hear the story through dialogue. So, it's sensational. So, we tell these stories that are vivid so that we're right there in the moment paying attention. Because as a presenter, if you don't have their attention, you can't get them the information. So, we have their attention because we're telling a story. And then, how do we tell a story that sells? The way we tell a story that sells is when we connect with the pain of the prospective client and we show them the result that they want, such that we're inciting in them the experience of, wow, I want that result. Wow, this person really understands my struggle. So I'll give you an example of me telling a story that sells. So I'll give a healthcare example. So let's imagine I'm a doctor telling a story. So there's a very busy executive who booked a call with me and filled out a form, and I could see very clearly on the form he's struggling with his weight, he's struggling with his energy, his stress. I get on the phone with him, and you can just hear it in his voice. He said to me, "Doc, if this goes on, I don't know if my marriage is going to last. I'm eating like crap. I'm irritable. I tried the diets, nothing works, and I honestly feel like giving up." So I tell the guy on the phone, I said, "Don't worry, your situation's not uncommon. Good news is I know exactly what to do. We're going to put you on our gut health reset protocol." And I offered him the program. He signed up. He said, "Let's do it. This better work." Within a month, I get a letter in the mail from the guy's address, but it has a woman's name on the return address. I open up. I'm curious. Who is this? Turns out it's a thank you card from his wife. The card says, "Thank you for giving me my husband back." The next time I talked to him, the guy felt like he was 10 years younger. I could hear it in his voice. He felt calm, he felt energetic, and he said, "Doc, I thought it was going to be hard. Following your advice, it was easier than I expected. But the one thing I didn't expect, I just never knew a human body could have this much energy. Thank you. This gut reset protocol has completely changed my life." And by the way, my brother, who's overweight and depressed, has been so inspired by the change in me, he wants to start it too. He wants to book a call with you. So here we have a story that we're talking about the transformation of a client. In my story, you heard the dialogue on the phone in the beginning, which sort of articulates the problem. You heard the dialogue at the end of the story. You also saw the letter, opening up the envelope, pulling out the thank you card. "Oh, it's from the wife. Thank you for giving my husband back." Wow. So now we're not selling a gut health protocol. We're selling save your marriage services. This is the benefit behind the benefit, right? So this story, when told in a presentation, let's say in the context of like the 3 tips to heal your gut and increase your energy, right? The person listening to this story who's struggling with their health, struggling with their energy, who's now imagining, geez, I wonder if this is really going to impact my marriage if I don't do anything about this. Because now they're relating to this story. They're going, oh, wow, I want that result. I want more energy than I've ever had before. I want my wife writing thank you cards to my doctor. I want to inspire my family members based on how healthy I am. Sign me up. So, emotional storytelling, we set the scene, we hear the scene, and we witness the client journey. It's almost like your audience gets to take you for a bit of a test drive in their mind, and they go, yeah, I'll take one of those.
And I think you're spot on there, Majid. I really believe that your health is your wealth. And that's probably, people probably heard that before, and that your network is your net worth.
Hmm.
But that's also at your, under your roof at home. Like, your health is your wealth with your family, and
Yeah.
your network is your net worth, and that's the people that are closest to you. It's not
Hmm.
just your colleagues and your professional connections. A lot of times these are your personal relationships with friends and family that are close to you. And like you said, the one person that had the impact, now it's a downstream effect of impact. Now we get the wife that has a better marriage with the husband who wrote the letter. And now we have a family member that saw the change that wants to shift as well. And I think that that's what you're really talking about, the inspiration of one, the power of one, how one person can take the story and have an influence on one person. That person can have a downstream effect on their family, and that downstream effect can have an impact on the other people within that ecosystem, which is the people that see the change. And then that guy's like, hey, man, I didn't know that a body was supposed to feel like this.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me give you a little extra cherry on top for this story. So I work with quite a few doctors that sell packages in the $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 range, when a lot of their clients might be selling in the hundred, or a lot of their colleagues might be selling in the hundreds of dollars of range. How do people justify these big ticket expenses? So one of the ways that we do this in storytelling is to compare to a bigger expense. So let's extend this conversation between this doctor and this newly re energized, busy professional guy. What if he says to the doctor, you know, I've been looking at $100,000 sports cars because I've wanted to feel so alive. But I'll tell you what, your $10,000 program has made me feel more alive than any convertible sports car I could ever drive. Or what if he says in the conversation, you know, I'm pretty sure this $10,000 investment in my health has saved me a $100,000 divorce. And so these sort of like understandings, you put things into perspective. Because if you're comparing a $10,000 program to a $50 appointment or a $100 appointment or a $200 appointment, it feels or sounds expensive. But if you compare it to a $100,000 Ferrari or a $100,000 divorce, which is, you know, these other potential outcomes if they don't get the help that they wanted.
Well, I just want to throw a couple quick hits on this to add to what you're saying is, in the chiropractic world, they say that chiropractic gives you years to your life and adds life to your years. And I think when people invest in themselves, this is a really important thing to hear is, you're either going to invest in your health now or you're going to pay for sickness later.
Hmm.
And I think that people don't realize that the longevity of a lifespan, like when you lay on that table and you're saying, hey, can you adjust me or am I not walk again? Now we're talking about like this critical moment and timing.
Hmm.
And when this person can deliver the goods to you at that critical moment and change the direction of your life for the better because you trusted them,
Yeah.
I think that's really the important part of this conversation we're having today is you're basically saying, hey, if you become a better presenter, you will get more opportunities to save more lives. And I think that when people think about chiropractic as a whole, it is a life-saving profession because it gives people hope.
Hmm.
And I call them hope dealers
Hmm.
because they're dealing hope and not dope.
Hmm.
And I really believe that when you look at the other side of the spectrum, they either get a chance to trust somebody that's a holistic practitioner with solutions based on their toolkit and their education, or they become a consumer of the pill mill. And I know I've told people this time and time again, Majid, I've never met anybody that took more pharmaceutical pills that had a better quality of life.
Hmm.
Just hasn't happened.
Hmm.
But I also have seen people that don't take a single one that are like so enthusiastic. They know how to schedule their days out. They know how to time block. They know how to be considerate. They don't worry about people taking care of them for damn sure. They're actually taking care of so many people that it's enthusiasm. It builds enthusiasm in me because I get a chance to see somebody that actually takes care of themselves, that isn't depending on somebody else to be the solution for them.
Mm.
So based on what you're saying, there's so much that has to go into the practitioner to have that confidence. Now let's change the gear and go get a gear higher and talk about how what you do gets people more opportunities to get more stages and to get more opportunities to share this what they learn.
Great. Yeah, a lot of my clients, the conversation starts with, I have so much I want to share. Where do I start? And, to give a speech or a presentation or a workshop, you need an audience. And so you may be fortunate enough to have your own audience that you've built through your email list or your, uh, you know, social medias. And then there's other people who have audiences like Jim. You've got this beautiful audience that you've built with the Chiro Hustle audience. There's the conferences and the associations that, you told me your stories about being at trade shows and probably given many, many presentations. So, what do you do to get booked? Well, as a professional speaker, when I started out, I thought the way you get invited to speak is you're just so awesome. People discover you and your phone rings and they said, "Hey, we heard about you. We want you to speak at our conference." And I sat at home for years waiting for the phone to ring. And I printed up business cards that said, "Majeed Mogharreban, speaker." And I handed out business cards. Well, the people I was handing business cards to weren't looking for a speaker. Then I learned from a mentor, you can make a list of places you want to speak and you can reach out and ask them to speak there. This is the beginning of a campaign that I call the stage getting campaign. I've detailed out exactly what I do step by step, exactly what I say in an email, exactly what I say in a phone call to get consistent and predictable bookings. And I give it away for free in my book called Expert Speaker. And you can get the book for free right now at expertspeakerbook.com. You'll instantly get a PDF download of the whole book, or you can buy it on paperback at Amazon, expertspeakerbook.com. And so once you learn how to get on stage, then the question is, what do you say? So you have a title of your speech and you have the speech itself, and it should be designed to attract your ideal client. So say, for example, let's extend the conversation about the um, busy executive man who reset his gut health so that his wife said, "Thank you for giving me my husband back." That presentation might be called "How to Double Your Energy and Get More Done with Less Brain Fog by Resetting Your Health." So that's the name of the speech. And if that speech was delivered in, let's say, a CEO forum of business owners who are looking for the productivity edge through all things, including personal health, and so the doctor comes in to present to the room of CEOs, or in the case of a digital presentation, a Zoom room full of CEOs, and then says, "Here's what you do. Step one, step two, step three. That's what we do. Let me share with you an inspiring story of how we get results for someone just like you." And then you invite them to take the next step into your program. So, how do you get booked? You make a list of places that you want to speak at. Where do you want to speak at? You want to speak at a place with high concentration of your ideal client. What do you want to speak about? You want to speak about your ideal client's biggest problem and show them how to solve it, and then invite them to solve it with you.
And that goes to a simple statement once again. I love these conversations, by the way. Thank you for sharing so openly. It's expertspeakersbook.com.
Expertspeakerbook.com.
Yeah, so go to expertspeakerbook.com and check out what Majeed has put together. And it could be the thing that could transform your ability to get to more stages and attract the ideal clients that you're looking for. And based on what you're saying here, so many people are overly stressed right now. They're coming out of probably the worst year of their life. They're confused. Their financial systems have been flipped upside down. Their health realization has been flipped upside down. I guess right now in a digital era, how can people use your skill sets and your trainings and teachings to get to a bigger audience that isn't in their local community, where you would be able to like maybe have a dinner in the past and invite a bunch of people and do a doctor's talk at a dinner, or a lunch and learn where you bring a business lunch and you could present to them? How are you seeing the trend shift to a digital format and getting more stages that way?
Great question. Um, I was supposed to speak to a room full of 200 people in April of 2020, right at the beginning of the pandemic. And at the advice of his lawyer, um, in fact, you know this guy, Sachin Patel, who runs Perfect Practice. He was supposed to have 200 people come to Toronto. Perfect Practice is for functional medicine doctors who want to grow their practice. He decided cancel in person. In person's not happening, but let's go online. And since it's online, why not make it available for free? And in the course of 2 weeks, he built an online 3-day event instead of being a 3-day event in person. And instead of 200 people showing up, 3,000 people showed up. And this is an annual event. And so he said, well, geez, why don't we just do another one 6 months from now? So he did 3,000 in the first one. He did 10,000 in the second one. We're doing another one in March. So in the span where he would have done 2 for 200 people each, he's now doing 3 for what's probably going to be 25,000 people. So the good news is it's never been easier to get on stage, because you carry the stage around in your laptop and in your pocket. So the stage is your computer now. There are very few, if any, live in-person events now and for the foreseeable future. And there's never been more eyeballs on screens than today. You know, you can now reach out to a friend. Let's say you're a healthcare practitioner local, and you've got a friend who's an accountant who has 1,000 different subscribers. And the accountant says, we're having a guest speaker. My doctor is going to be speaking about what you can do to improve your health in 2020 or 2021. And, you know, you set up a webinar landing page, you get 100 people registering, 50 people show up, and 20 people sign up to be new clients. And how much does that cost you? Nothing, right? Like the costs have gone down to zero, because we're not booking hotels anymore. We're not booking flights and caterers and all that. So it's actually never been easier. Now, the one thing I would recommend is that if you're going to have a national or international brand, you've got to choose a very specific niche. The more specific, the better. Like, we do gut health for busy executive males who are Christian and love traveling. That's like really, really specific. Why? It's because people, the best clients you get are the ones who say, I could work with anybody, but I'm going to pay double to work with you because I like you. There's something about you, your values, your style, your story. So being more you is a differentiator, because I'll quote Sally Hogshead when I say different is better than better. Different is better than better. So different in the niche, different in how you infuse your personal brand into your story and message. Because what you might have relied on in the past was, we're located conveniently downtown and we have free parking. Well, if you want to compete nationally and internationally, people are going to choose you because of something that makes you, in their mind, different, and different is better than better. So that's my one piece of advice to go with. There's never been a bigger opportunity, and you've never needed to be different more than today. So you got to be different, and the whole world can be your client now.
Well, you just basically unpacked one of the aspects of our Chiro Hustle Masterclass, which teaches people how to start podcasts. Is we teach them how to build their community around 7 miles of their practice by interviewing other people that have great ratings when they do Google searches for different types of businesses. Now they're going to be able to harvest the talent that's local that wants to be on their chiropractic show talking about what makes them awesome.
Yeah.
And they're going to be able to say, hey, just like I did for you today, give me 3 topics that you want to jam on today about what you are an expert in. Now, just say you took the local uh, hairstylist. Let's talk about 3 things that make you exceptional at your practice of cutting hair and putting color into people's hair. Now let's get the guy that runs the bakery that can't have people come in anymore, but has a takeout window that wants to sell more loaves of bread. And you bring them on and they talk about the challenges that they've had with this pandemic. And you can start featuring that person and they're going to sell more bread. And you can take the place that you've trusted for the past 15 years for your car and say, hey, John, I want to bring you on as an expert in our community and talk to you about what makes your services great and why you have such an awesome business. So
Yeah.
you do 1 to 2 of those a month, and you are going to be the go-to chiropractor in your community. And
I
people
love
wonder
that
why,
strategy.
but people wonder why I created this training class was because I want chiropractors to learn how to be the go-to in their community within 7 miles of their practice. And I want them to become more vocal. And I want them to use what you're talking about, the storytelling and the featuring. But I also want them to learn how to say, hey, at the end of this, there has to be the hook. Like, how do you make money and how do you schedule people? Conveniently, in the description above, you guys can come to my website and click through. And if you want to become a new patient, there's an offer up there for you. If you want to go over to John's, he's got $20 off coupons for your next tire service. And I think that that's where we're going to get a big win from building this hive, if you will, of local practitioners doing features of people that are in their community that are doing great business, that want to grow their business and build alliances with other people. It's almost like taking Toastmasters and BNI and putting them together on a stage that has a very specific group. And I guarantee you one thing too here, Majeed, people want to share that when they're like, dude, I just saw my chiropractor interviewing the guy that like sells bread. Like, everybody in that community is going to start sharing that. And they're going to be like, wow, how do I learn how to do that?
Yeah.
Because that guy's business is booming. There's a line outside of that chiropractor's office now because he's doing a benevolence project and he's telling other people's stories.
So Jim, let me just say I love that strategy, and I'll sort of unpack it and reflect it back to you. So as the local chiropractor, you identify business leaders and business influencers in the local area. You interview them. 1, that builds the relationship with them. 2, it adds some goodwill to the community. 3, it shows that you are a community-minded entrepreneur, not just head down, I've got my skill set, I've got my practice, I do my work. And with podcasts, it's just never been easier than that. And you do 1 interview today, you'll get people watching that interview for the next 10 years, right? And you say to the baker who has the chiropractor's interview on the podcast and say, hey, feature our interview on your website because I made you look really good on that, right? And every time you get off one of these podcasts, they go, gosh, that was a great interview. We should do business together. And Jim, you and I had our pre-interview conversation where we found someone that we know in common, Stephen Klein. Shout out to Stephen Dippity. And instantly the energy changed, like, oh, okay, so we can trust each other. And so, we're establishing our relationship now through this. And I guarantee the conversation after this is, what more can we do to support each other and do business? It's the age-old strategy of relationship marketing. Now, as a speaker, if I were to just come onto your screen as just some random video, you would say, who's this guy? And you might click off pretty quick. But for the people who are watching this who have a great relationship with Jim, and they know Jim brings on the best people, and they know, hey, if Jim found Majeed, he must be pretty good. I'm benefiting from that. I'm leveraging that. So the strategy that you're recommending creates so much goodwill in the community, so much goodwill amongst your business colleagues, and leverages that borrowed trust. So if someone trusts the baker and the baker says, who's this Chiro guy? Oh yeah, he's great. He interviewed me. He's smart. It's great. Love the strategy.
And how many people do you think walk up to that booth that need a chiropractor, that buy their bread? And when you pay attention to that baker and you say, hey, I'm going to feature you on my show, and they say, you got migraines? Go see Doc. You have drop foot? Go see Doc. Oh, you got in a car crash. Go see Doc. And
Yeah.
then you become the go-to, like I said, you become the go-to resource in your local community for these people that do a lot of numbers of business, the pizza delivery place, the flower shop. When you start bringing on people that have high reputable businesses that do a lot of foot traffic, they're all going to be like top of mind now. Oh man, I just got interviewed 3 months ago by this chiropractor. I got interviewed a year ago by this chiropractor, and he featured my business, helped me grow my business through his network. And yeah, if you have headaches, or your little girl's dealing with this, or your husband's dealing with that, or you just got in a car smash up, like go see Doc. You will become the go-to influence in your market, in your arena, because of this strategy. And I think that's really, it's not me selling a course to people. It's not me. You ask me, what do I sell? I'm like, I don't know. I just want to help people. But I had to come up with something that I thought would be a genius product for people to say, if I do this, this will grow my business. And I think that that's what we're talking about. If you learn Majeed's strategies on becoming an influencer with your story, you will grow your business. And if you marry our two situations together, you will become an influencer that tells a story and learns how to harvest other people's stories and feature them.
Hmm.
And I think that that's what we're really doing right now is I'm bringing somebody on that I trust. And actually it was Sachin that connected us
Okay, good. Yeah.
because he knew that I had firepower in the chiropractic space and you had an ability to teach chiropractors how to build their influence with their story.
Yeah. It's the same thing that's worked 200 years ago, and that's that people do business with people they trust. We just now have some incredible tools that make it much easier, but it's still people want to do business with people they trust. What I've discovered as a speaker is that people want to do business who are like them. People want to do business with people who are like them. So when I work with someone on how to craft and tell their story, what we do is we look at who's your ideal client, who's the one person in the audience who you want to raise their hand and say, wow, I want to work with you. We're going to engineer the feeling in that person where they go, gosh, I want to work with you. And in the back of their mind, they're thinking, I want to work with him because he's a lot like me. So how do you demonstrate your values through your stories and how you present? How do you demonstrate, what you stand for and what's important for you in business? So for example, I love to travel and I love to spend time with my kids. So my bio says Majeed Mogharreban, world traveling dad and speaker. And I share a lot of stuff about how I love to travel and I love my kids. It has nothing to do with public speaking coaching, but it really resonates with the people who have similar values. I get on the call with people and I say, what would it do for you if you had a speech that could attract clients and you can land speaking engagements wherever you wanted? They say, well, I would be able to travel and spend more time with my kids. Why is that? Well, it's because I'm attracting the people who are resonating with my story by design. If I told a different part of my story, I would be attracting those other kinds of people. So people want to do business with people they trust. People want to do business with people who remind them of themselves. And so we can really take that into consideration, how we brand ourselves and how we present ourselves to get the right kind of clients coming.
Well, let me just go ahead and pre-frame this for all of our listeners and all of the audience that we actually get a chance to work with. And if you guys are interested in hitting better numbers and more influence with services in your office, reach out to Majeed and see what he has to offer to you. I know he's doing a great deal of helping people within the functional medicine arena with holistic healers, with chiropractors. And I know that you're doing so much to connect the dots for people to have better quality of life with not only crafting their stories, but the services that they can offer and teaching people how to actually do what most people really struggle with. And that's figuring out what their high ticket offers are and making a better quality of life through the income that they can earn. And I think that if we come to the end of this conversation today and you guys just took action on one thing, send him a message through Facebook Messenger, friend request him, and ask him how he can help you with your business and growth in 2021, because I know you guys are all nicked up and you're looking for opportunities to grow your businesses out there. So Majeed, thank you for being on with me today, man. I'm so happy to connect Quebec, Canada with Grand Junction, Colorado today at distance.
Yes,
And
sir.
I feel like I have a new brother and I feel like I built a great alliance with you today. And thank you for sharing from your heart. And thanks for being a good dad. I don't know if many of you guys know this, but I grew up without a dad. So
Mm.
all you guys that are out there that are being good fathers to your kids, let's give a round of applause to them.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate that. Great connecting with you too, Jim. Nice
Yeah.
work.
Is
I'm
is there
impressed. I'm impressed. I'm not surprised, Jim. I'm not surprised, but I'm impressed. You got this process dialed in, and anybody who's taken your podcast course is going to be very well served. I know.
Well, before we jump off, is there anything I didn't ask you that you would like to share with our audience today?
Yeah. What's my favorite quote of all time? And it is 3 words, and the quote is to begin, begin. So if you want to become an expert speaker, to begin, book a strategy call with me. You can book a strategy call at expertspeaker.com/apply, expertspeaker.com/apply, and you'll see my calendar and you can book a call with me. Listeners of this podcast get a free strategy call with me. And that's for people who want to grow their business with public speaking. I'll map out that process with you and see if working together is a good fit for you. expertspeaker.com/apply.
And get the book. Get the book, get the book, get the book, and begin today. Majeed, wealth of knowledge. You are such a heart-spoken human. And thank you for sharing with our audience today. And if you guys are out there and you're watching this and you found some value in this, please go ahead and share this. If you have any questions for either of us, post them in the comments below, and we will get back to each and every single one of you. And like I said, if it's one of those things where you don't like to be so publicly aware of your usage on Facebook, send him a direct message through Facebook Messenger. And I'm sure he would be happy to connect you with any of the resources that he mentioned on this show today. For all you guys that are out there that love our show, I just want you to keep hustling. You guys are all just one story away. Keep hustling.
Nice.
We'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you.